Hi, welcome Narendra to this TOGAF FAQ session, clearing session. So do walk us through what you've been doing so far, and then of course we will look at the query clarification session one-on-one. Yes, Narendra, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi Kiran. I'm in IT field for last 15 years, and currently I'm working with one of the US giant in mortgage domain. And we are providing solution in mortgage domain related products for US clients. And I'm preparing for TOGA for last 3-4 months. Yeah, and my exam is scheduled after 2 weeks, and I'm confident in level one, but I have a few doubt in part second. So I am with you to discuss these.
Okay, fine, Narendra. Yeah. So what domain are you currently working on? What exact domain are you working on? Insurance, mortgage. You said mortgage.
It's a mortgage, in
Okay,
home loan. Yeah,
okay,
no,
okay.
home, yeah, mortgage. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yes, we will step into your questions. So yeah, go ahead. What is the kind of questions that you have?
So first thing I would like to ask you means how to, okay, if you can brief something about TRM and triple IRM. So what are
Okay,
their
TRM
main
and triple
function?
RM. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think let me share the screen so that it might become a lot easier to explain it that way. So one second. So let me just open up that slide on TRM and triple RM. Yeah, so basically, once again, I think I still haven't sharing anything. So let me share my screen. Okay, you're able to see my screen, right? Narendra, you're able to see my screen?
Yeah, right. I'm able to say.
Okay. So
Yes, I
basically,
am.
yeah, so we will actually be looking at these things. So which is typically TRM and triple IRM are basically reference architectures. So or reference models. So how do you create a reference model is the question point. And for that, we could use these things. So basically, uh, Open Group has this concept called boundaryless information flow. So what is boundaryless information flow according to you?
So it is a trademark of TOGAF. So it tell you how information can be shared and how it should be shared. Like it should be shared to the right people at the right time.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, it's about ensuring that there are no real boundaries between your various domains in your enterprise. So let us say you are a typical supply chain network, you buy something from some people, you do it, then you are actually selling it to your customers. Then you are typically in this mode, and are actually able to interact with these as if there is no boundary. So this was created by Jack Welch when he was managing General Electric. He said there should not be any boundary between. So what happens in most companies is,
1 minute, Kiran, your voice is not clear,
yeah,
and
one second, is it clear
always
now?
appearing that there is some network issue at your side.
Yeah, okay, so I'll repeat it again. Is it clear now?
No,
Is it clear now? Hello?
yeah, now it's clear. Hello, yeah,
Okay.
now I'm it audible.
Okay. So I'll repeat it. So basically, what it was saying was that Jack Welch, who was heading General Electric at one point of time, so he said that in most companies, when HR talks to finance, finance doesn't talk to legal, legal doesn't talk to marketing, marketing doesn't talk to sales. So there is a huge problem of silos in many companies. So to avoid that silos, you can actually create a boundaryless information flow kind of an architecture, which means that you should be able to interact with these business boundaries without, you know, as if he's your next door neighbor, not just within the company, even with your partners and vendors and ecosystem. If you're able to connect that way, that is truly called as boundaryless information flow. And you said that it's a trademark term. Yes, precisely. That's a trademark term from the Open Group. And this is what is called as IIIRM, which means it is information integrated information infrastructure reference model. IIIRM is integrated infrastructure integrated information infrastructure reference model. We'll come to that. Just hold on your thoughts. So the need for TRM is to remove this silos. So when you say remove the silos, it is typically like a SOA kind of a situation, service-oriented architecture. Of course, now the industry has moved to microservices and all that. But the point here is, how do you break the boundaries between various organization units and do business well? That's what TRM stands for. So the problem was people were working in silos. The solution from the Open Group for that is called IIRM, which is Integrated Information Infrastructure Reference Model. So this is what is typically the situation for that. And typically, just to take background of this, before we come to IIRM, just remember that TRM is a superset. TRM is a base class. So basically, you could look at something like this, that TRM is the superset of everything, and IIIRM is the base class. So basically, it is to say that, you know,
yeah, again, your voice is not clear.
Yeah, is it better now? Is it better?
No, yeah, now it's better.
Okay, so I think there's a network problem. So this is the base class. IIIRM, this is the base. TRM, or technology reference model, is the base, and there is IIIRM, which is the subclass of this. So this is the subclass of TRM. At least so much is clear that this is the superset of everything. This is the subset. That is IIRM is a subset. Is this clear?
All right.
Yeah. So basically, TRM has two components. So one is called taxonomy, and the other is called a graphic. So they could also ask, taxonomy can also be represented as vocabulary, or TRM graphic can be also referred to as visual representation of the architecture. So they could ask it the same way. TRM has two components. What are they? You might say taxonomy and graphic, vocabulary or visual representation. It means the same. And the role of TRM is it's a reference model, technology reference model. And this is the broad view of 20,000-foot view of how TRM looks like. So TRM looks like this. So typically, it says that any application, a given application, can run on any platform using any infrastructure, any communication protocol. Since it is so generic that you are able to run an application on any platform, any communication infrastructure, it is solving two of industry's main points. That is that of application portability and interoperability. Since you're saying I'm at that very generic state, I can run an application on any platform, any communication device, any network protocol. So you're interoperable with everybody. Since you're saying any platform, you're portable with everybody. So it solves two of main industry's main points. So you might get a question, okay, TRM solves which of two industry main points? So you should say application portability and interoperability. So, so much clear on the TRM right now?
Yeah, right. So sometimes I get confused, means what are the three main category? So like one is application, and another one is communication infrastructure and application platform, I think.
Yes, yeah. So this is the one that you need to remember. And now you break up the TRM. It looks like this. When you say an application can have two components to it. One is the infrastructure part. One is the business part of the application. So the infrastructure part can you give an example of what is infrastructure for an application and what is business side of the application? Let us say you've got an accounting software. So what would be the infra part of it? What would be the business part of it?
So infra side, you can say the system, the networking part of it, and
Yes.
data storage. This all falls into infra, and the application itself falls in business application.
Yeah.
The
So
software.
yeah, basically accounting. So all your credit account, delete account, or insert account, all of that sort of everything that's payroll processing, interest calculation, all of that will be in the business side of the application. The infrastructure application would be your memory management, your reporting, your logging, LOGGING logging. Then if it is multi-entity, multi-byte, so all the technical features of it, printing, all of that sort of stuff will fall into the infra side of the application. Like if you want to make your application Dockerized, then that will also be part of your infra part of it. And now such an application resides on an application platform interface that has these qualities or these features typically. So it has got security, it's got transaction processing, it's got data management, then it has got systems and network management, then it's got graphics and interfaces, then data interchanges, localization. All of these things are pretty much the features of such an application. It resides on an application operating system. It talks to network inter services and communicates to the outside world, and also makes use of communication infrastructure. And all of this has QoS. So what is QoS typically? QoS, because in RFPs and RFCs, you'll come across this word called QoS. What is QoS? QoS is nothing but quality of service attributes. Narendra, you are there? Hello?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Yeah. So basically QoS means quality of service attributes. So it's all the NFRs that you typically say, non-functional attributes. So those are the QoS attributes. And that will be surrounding such an application, because it's not enough to develop it functionally. You should also be able to enrich the non-functional parts of an application like the NFRs. So this is typically the high level look of how the TRM, the very high level look is what you saw in this picture. When you break it down, it looks like this, which is this. So this is we discussed, this is what is called, this is the base class, and IIIRM is the derived one. So what is, okay, forgot about these parts. This is all explaining what
Subclass.
Yeah, so basically that's a subclass. So it has got all these quality of attributes such as availability, assurance, usability, and adaptability, and all of these sort of stuff, which are nothing but the non-functional parts of the application. So these are all the non-functional bits of the application. And you can use TRM, can be created for any domain. So it could be for telecom, energies, mining, banking, insurance, mortgage. You can have reference models for specific industry verticals. So that is the advantage of having a technology reference model. And then now you say TRM, if you slice it like an onion.
Sorry, your voice is again breaking.
Yeah, okay, once again. Is it clear now? Narendra, is my voice clear?
Yeah, now it's clear.
Okay, I think we'll have to live with this because a lot of
now it's clear.
Issues. Okay, so basically, if you slice the TRM like an onion, the side view will look like this. The top view will look like this. So much is clear that if you slice it like an onion, this is the side view, this is the top view. Is that clear? Like there's an application which runs on a platform. Platform has operating system, network, services, device. So this is what we saw, right? This picture, if you just slice it, it's a three-dimensional picture. If you slice this from the side and the top, this is what you get to see. So much is clear, no? Same picture. This is the same picture.
Yeah, actually voice is breaking again.
Okay. This is a three-dimensional picture. If you slice it from the side and from the top, this is what you get. That is clear?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So now this is a TOGAF TRM, right? What is TRM? Technology Reference Model. Yes. And now if you come here, you're saying that I don't want to build a generic application. I don't have the time and money to build those things. So let me just build the application without focusing on all of these things. I'll not care about operating system, network, then communication protocols. I'll descope all of these things from my scope. So all these things are grayed out. I'll only focus my efforts on building my application. That is, I just want the application to run, and it should have a business side. It should have a infra side to it. I'll only concentrate on this green box that you see here. If I'm only building that part of it, then how do you do that clearly? So basically, I'm going to descope all my application complexity, network I'm becoming a bit specific. I don't want to build the most generic architecture. I'm saying I'll just build the architecture now, so that I'm descoping all the operating system complexity, the communications protocol complexity, and I'll focus only on this part of it. When that becomes your key part, that is your triple RM. And that's about just building your application. You're forgetting about the operating system, network, protocol, communications interface. You're building the application. So the application can have a consumer side of it. It can have a provider side of it. So what is the consumer side and provider side of an application? Can you, from a SOA world, what do you think it is?
Okay, so it's the entire application, you can say, kind of. So you have kept brokering application in between. So from there, and client and number of client can access it.
Yeah, but I'm asking you a specific question. What is an example of a consumer information consumer application and an information provider application? What would be an example of that?
Oh, actually, your voice is not clear.
Okay, so my question was, give me an example of information consumer application and information provider application.
So like Google is providing lots of services like weather report and your stock rates and other, and your consumer services can be an user or any application which is using it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, your Google Maps is perhaps looking at the weather information that can be the consumer, but your Google Maps information itself is used by somebody else, then that can be the provider. Yeah, based on who consumes it, who provides it, those are all, yes, correct examples of the provider and the consumer. So there is a broker in between. Broker is nothing but your middleware, which helps you to scale your architecture. If you've got a lot of throughput, high availability scenarios, you can use the brokering application. Development tools would be your Visual C++ or Eclipse or NetBeans or anything that you, Visual Studio, that you try to build your application. What would be the example of a monitoring tool or utilities there? Management utilities, what would be an example of management utilities?
So in terms of infra, you can say Datadog is one of them.
What is that? Data Corp. Sorry, Narendra, what is that?
Yeah, like means Datadog is used for management.
Yeah. So basically Nagios or New Relic or App Dynamics or even your system Windows Task Manager also is a management utility, which tells you how to, how much CPU, RAM, or how many users are logged into the system, when do they log in, when do they log out, what is the concurrent number of users on the system. All such stuff is nothing but your management utilities. Make sense? And so this is your IIRM. What is IIRM? Yeah. My voice is breaking.
Now it's clear.
Okay. Integrated. So triple RM is integrated information infrastructure reference model. So this is typically what it is. So it is the breakup of all these things. So now you further break it down, it will look like this. Just now whatever we discussed. So TRM is the base class, and the subclass of this is called triple IRM. So if you get an exam question, which is the most generic architecture, TRM is the most generic one. So this is the most generic architecture.
Generic one.
This is slightly more specific. So if you go to the enterprise continuum, you will go from your generic level all the way down to your specific level. So how will you go? You will go from foundation architecture to
left to right.
Common systems architecture. Then you'll go to your organization specific architecture. Then you'll go to your industry specific architecture.
No, first
And
industry
then
and last one is organization
specific. So you can have this both at the architectural level, and then you can have this at the solution level also. You can have SBBs, then you can have ABBs. So this is typically what is the breakup between the two. So now you're clear on what is the difference between TRM and IIIRM?
Yeah, right.
Okay, fine, Narendra. So this is typically the thing. If they ask you which is the most generic architecture, your answer is TRM. Which is slightly more specific. Which is the most specific one. It will be the organization specific architecture inside the continuum.
All right. And what about the components? So I saw some question means what are the part of IIIRM? Like they give
what are the parts
option.
of IIIRM would be basically your platform, consumer application, provider application, broker. All these things are part of IIIRM.
Okay. So I need to.
So that's about this question. So what is your other questions?
So what are the major entities of TRM? So that I think we have.
Yeah, that
covered.
also is covered from that. Yeah, if you just do that, that will be covered.
Yeah, and another one is architecture realization artifact. So what is use of it? And
architecture realization. How do you realize your architecture? So you typically would have an architecture definition document. So typically you go to all your outputs. When do you realize your architecture typically? So you would realize your architecture by the time you finished implementing the architecture. So typically you would go something like this. If you go to the migration planning phase, if you go to this phase here, so typically these are part of the architecture realization. So when you finish the migration, and if your migration is successful, then you've got the architecture definition document. So basically you'll have the architecture definition document, your transition architectures, your business capability, migration plan, migration strategy. All of these things are part of your architecture realization phase. Narendra, you're there?
Yeah, actually, again, your voice is breaking.
Yeah, so basically the outputs of the migration phase.
Yes, I am. Actually, your voice was not clear.
Okay. Okay. So this is typically how they would look at it. And I've not seen any question on architecture realization that way. But typically if they ask you, it should be all of the things that get output as a part of your migration step.
Okay.
What about other questions?
So other question I have related to level 2 means how to solve it in a given time, and how to refer open book by that time.
I think you have all my the course, no, the tips and techniques for part 2. So if you refer to that, that has got all the keywords that are required to crack the part 2. It tells you first, if you're reading a question, then you should be read the question properly, and you should have a speed reading approach, and make sure that you're reading things quickly. And also the question will typically be in the last paragraph of that question. It'll be last 4 or 5 lines or last 5, 6 lines, that everything will be blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have practiced this thing. Means
Yeah.
and that is true. I am now referring to last paragraph or last 4, 5 lines.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
question
So
is,
once you get to that place, the trick is to identify which phase is he talking about. So if you're able to, which phase or which process or which technique or which particular task in the ADM is he talking about. So if you know the guidelines or techniques or the process or the scenarios or the phases that he's talking about, first is identify from that what is he talking about. If you're saying, okay, you're an architect who's setting up the architecture for a company, then your mind should jump, okay, this guy is talking about preliminary phase or architecture revision. So if he's saying, okay, now we want to do rollout, then your mind should shift that, okay, he's talking about phase E and F. If he's talking about change management and governance, he's talking about phases F and G. That's how you'll have to find out which phase. And then in that phases, for each phase, I've given you a list of keywords that you need to remember. If it is phase A, you do stakeholder management there. If it is phase F, you do the transition planning there. If it is phase B, C, and D, you do the architecture development there. E and F, you do the transition planning, migration planning. G and H, you do the change management and the governance part. So G takes care of contract management, SLA, and H takes care of compliance and all those things. And then your E takes care of transition architectures. So what is the keyword for, okay, let me just ask you, what is the keyword for identifying whether he's talking about phases E and F? So what are the keywords? How do you know
so
that he's talking
E
about
is
phases
you
E and
can,
F?
so E is transition management, and you can
Correct.
say cost value analysis,
Correct.
and
Correct.
for E you can say outline and
E,
consolidated
F,
gap
F is the play. F is for cost benefit analysis. E is for transition architectures, work packages, and interaction between various frameworks. So like if you're interacting with project management, business planning, solution architecture, implementation
outline,
planning. Yeah.
outline work.
So all of those things, it is E. But if you're doing
Yeah,
the cost management, other things, it becomes F.
yeah, and formulate is also
And one more key
with,
important word I was looking at you to say, it is called continuous business value. Deliver incremental continuous business value. So this word is very, very important. Delivering continuous incremental business value. So are you delivering continuous incremental business value in an agile fashion? So that is the expectation that they're looking at when you're talking about phase E and F, and using transition architectures, of course. So these are the keywords, because your answers will contain all these things. And if you don't tick the answer with the word continuous incremental business value, they'll think that, okay, this guy has not understood the TOGAF terminology. So that is very, very important. Apart from what you said, these keywords are very important. Narendra, are you there?
right, and also obtain approval from stakeholder is part of F.
Yes,
And
approval
lesson
for
learned.
rollout. But if they generally ask you a question, you are trying to do stakeholder management initially, then it is phase A. Phase A is the only place in TOGAF where you do stakeholder management as a definitive activity before you start your. If you're saying manage your stakeholders for rollout or deployment, then it is F. But if you're just generic question, where do you take care of your stakeholders? Answer should be phase A. Make sense?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So what else?
So can I share my screen and
Yeah,
we can
I will share. I'll
have,
make you the presenter. So let me stop sharing mine. I'm going to make you the presenter. So do you want change the host to Naresh. Yes. So you're the presenter, Naresh. You can go ahead now.
So like I got one this question.
Yeah. So this question, if you see, he's talking about risk. Okay. Potentially
Yeah, right.
disruptive program is done and there is a risk thing. So when it comes to risk, what is the keyword for identifying risk?
Risk itself. You can
Risk
say.
itself is a keyword, yes. But apart
Yeah.
from that, there is another very important keyword.
Risk management.
Yes, that's a keyword, but there is another one.
Initial and residual.
Yes, perfect, perfect. Initial risk and residual risk. So you look at the question which is talking about all the steps in the risk management which are done, identifying, classing, mitigating, sorting, and plus it should have the keyword initial risk and the residual risk, because he says the program has already failed once, so they don't want to fail it again. So if that is the case, then you will have to do a proper job of identifying what is the initial level of risk and the residual level of risk. So you should have that. Plus, look at the options wherein he is talking about all the things, from identifying, classifying, sorting, assigning the risk, monitoring the risk. So which one has both these things together? So that will be the correct one. So from your options, it looks like B has all of those things. So if you look at option B, which can you scroll above? Can you scroll above? No, above. Oh, yeah, option B.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think B might be the better answer from this. Right. So I think if you look at the options, go to the answers, it must be B only, I think, because it's got all the steps in risk management, like classifying, mitigating, and all that. Plus, it has got the initial and residual level of risk. You can go to the table of contents and directly jump to the answers. The sidebar, no? Sidebar. Huh. No. There, you go to table of contents, sidebar. Yeah. Go to the double icon here. This, yeah, on top of that. On top of that. Yes. Go to answers. Or yeah, go to the this one, the below one. You go page number, whatever. Yeah, just click on that question number one. Just go down. Answers, examination answers, question one. Examination answers, question one. Yeah, just click on that.
Most corrected is B.
Yeah, so it is B.
So it is, I think, for stakeholder.
Yeah, so this guy is talking about key players and all. So it could be, stakeholders and stuff like that. So he's talking about architecture vision typically. Are you there, Nagendra?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi. So what is the question on this one?
So I think it is related to
Yeah, so
stakeholder
it is
engagement.
typically related to architecture vision phase. So what you need to do is, if you know that this question is related to architecture vision, you are allowed to open the 535 page ebook, right? You can open the 535 page ebook, do Control F on the architecture vision phase on that, and study, look at the steps, objectives of that. So that should map your answer. Your answer should have whatever is given in the steps and your objectives and steps. Yeah, you're here. Go to the objectives and the steps part. These are inputs and architectural stuff. Go to the objectives and the steps. Yeah,
So
steps.
these are-
Exactly. Yeah. Stay here. Perfect. So the steps and the objectives should be part of your answer. If it is there, then yes, you identified the phase correctly. So whichever answer has the most, the closest part in the steps and the objectives, that is the correct answer.
So
Your voice is breaking, Narendra. Your voice
so
is
now
breaking.
we have to look inside these answers.
Your voice is breaking.
So I think this one is, according to me, is the correct best answer, D. Actually, it's saying about this architecture map. Actually, your voice is not coming. You are in mute, I think, Kiran.
Okay. So it is talking about the stakeholder map. So that's
Yeah.
also quite important. So yes, it is D. You can actually look at these things and look at the answers, Narendra. So we'll not go into all of them because the answers are already given. So you can go through that.
Yes,
And if you
yes,
have any
yes.
doubts on them,
Right.
such things only we will discuss, because anyway, the answer is given in this stuff. And if you have a doubt on, okay, why this guy has chosen this answer, and if you have doubt on that, we will discuss. Otherwise, this is very straightforward. You can look at the answers once you made your decision, and only such things we will discuss.
Okay. And one more thing, Kiran. So can you means tell me what is the document name which tells you about the keyword mapping for level 2?
The keyword mapping stuff. So can you make me the presenter? I will
Right.
show you that document. So it is part of my this thing. Okay. So if you go here, you have to make me the presenter now.
So from, can you guide me how we can make it?
Yeah. You have to click on my name and right click and say presenter. Make host. You have to right click on my name and say make host.
Okay, done.
Done, right? Okay, so so what you do is I would have given you this one, like, okay, let me open that. One second. So it's taking time. Just give me a minute. It is. So in your part 2, like I've shared you the part 2 tips and techniques, no? That video you've got that, right?
Yeah, right.
In that, if you just go down, there is a link called Google Drive. The first or the second link, it's called Google Drive with all the keywords and all. So if you open the Google Drive, you will be able to see all the PDFs which have the keywords, everything. There are around 10 or 12 PDFs which have got all the.
Right.
You're able to see
There are
that now?
10. Yeah, there are 10. I downloaded them. So out of these 10, which one is
There will be a
for...
file called ADM keywords itself. There is a file called ADM keywords. So it will be that. I'm not able to open the Google Drive here for some reason. I don't know. It's taking a lot of time, and Google Drive is not responding. So once again, you can actually go through that folder that will have the keywords stuff. Let me try to open it on my system here. Game plan. Yeah, you're okay. 1 second. Let me share my screen. You're able to see the screen now?
Right.
So this is a document. Keywords for identifying the ADM phases. So if you go, it will tell you for each phase, what are the keywords. Part 2 exam.
Okay. I will check.
Fine, right?
So this document is same?
Yeah. This document is there in that Google Drive. That if you just click on that, this is part of that. You're able to see that? It is called keywords for identifying the ADM phases .pdf.
Key deliverable of ADM I have.
No, key deliverable nahi. It is called keywords for identifying the ADM phases.
Okay. Got it.
Got it, right? So if you're able to look at
it.
Yeah, if you're able to look at that, that
Right.
should solve all your problems.
Okay, I will look into this. And Kiran, any idea how many questions should I resolve before appearing in exam for level 2?
Sorry, I didn't. What is your exact question?
Means how much practice I need to do? Means how many?
Yeah, make sure that you're getting 35 or 40 out of 40 out of 40 is great. All the practice tests, you do them repeatedly till you get 35 or 36 or 40. Not less than that. Don't wait. If you get 30 and all, don't be confident. Just make sure that you're getting 35 to 40 in your practice test continuously with the time. So put a timer in your stop clock and then measure your stuff. And then only if you're consistently getting that amount, then you can stop it.
Okay, thank you.
So when is that? July 5th, your exam?
4th.
Okay. Any other doubts?
No, thanks.
Okay, fine, Narendra. I think we can do this. And once you complete this, as I told you, I have one course. I'll just give you a brief idea about that course so that it might be really useful for you to get a grip of it completely, to get real practitioners, experience. So it's called an Agile Business Leaders course that I have created, and it is like a mentorship program, and it has got a lot of good things that unless you have a good mentor or a good boss, you may not learn all these things. So basically it's got some self-paced learning, then you solve some exercises, then you do a presentation. I will tell you whether you're right or wrong, and then you can showcase it in front of your boss company, and then you can get a certification, Agile Business Leaders certification. So it has got all of these things. So basically it talks about how do you mix agility and architecture, then basically what's your current level of skill sets and what you need to improve on. There'll be a questionnaire for you to do that. Then your digital transformation skills, how much of it you know. Then your modeling skills and how do you model architectures when you do your RFPs, RFCs, your solution architecture, apart from, of course, the basic stuff that people already would have done, the UML and that kind of stuff. What kind of templates and tools will you use to do an end-to-end mapping of the architecture? There's some exercises for you to solve. Then basically how much of service orientation should you know if you grow and climb the ladder? How much of ITIL you should know? How do you evaluate the strength and weakness of various architectures? How do you use design thinking, systems thinking, that kind of stuff? How do you use cybersecurity along with architecture to solve problems? How do you use business architecture? And an end-to-end case study with a presentation will be given to you so that you can use this when you're presenting it to your top management, making, of course, your domain-specific changes in that. Then it talks about what is the sales part of it, what is enterprise sales, what is your RFPs, RFCs, how do you use DevOps, how do you create reference architectures, how do you write white papers, basically, how do you write white papers, how do you make presentations, because this is what will get you the promotions and the job jumps, because these days in job applications and even promotion interviews, they ask you, okay, have you published a white paper? Have you spoken at a conference? That kind of stuff. And then, of course,
Yeah, right, correct.
Yeah. So, and then emerging technologies, how do you keep them updated? So this is typically all of this stuff. I have recorded videos for all of these things, and now there is an interest in people, and people have started buying this. I've kept it very cost effective. This whole set, just giving it out for 35,000 rupees, and along with around 2 to 3 hours of one-on-one coaching, if as and when needed, so that your doubts get clarified, similar to what we have done now. So it kept the cost of entry very low, so that it's attractive to a lot of people. And then, of course, if they need advanced sessions, then we can have a longer mentoring session. But just this program, I've kept it very, very entry level.
Your voice is not clear.
Yeah. So what I was saying is I've kept the cost of entry for this program to be 35,000, which includes self-paced learning plus some mentoring.
Kiran, your voice is not clear.
Okay. Is it clear now, Narendra? Hello? Hello? Narendra, am I clear now? Hello? Hello, hello. Hello?
Hello, yes.
Yeah, I think there was some issue, so I lost you in between. So what I was saying was the cost of entry for this program, I've kept it at 35,000 rupees for all of these things. So it's like a very low barrier to entry, but you get a ton of information on all the things which will help you to climb and make that job progress. And then once you need more extensive coaching based on that, then we can have a longer mentorship program. But for this program, it is very minimal cost of entry. Mostly there are self-paced sessions, and then you have to do some exercises. And then if you do that, I've found out from multiple companies that I've trained and coached people that these are the essential skills that they ask when you're trying to get that promotion or make that job jump. So I think once you're done with your TOGAF course, we can look at this, because you said you're keen on doing something like this, right? Hello.
Right. Actually, I even saw, Kiran, I saw some video related to this, which you recorded earlier. So they were very informative.
Yeah, exactly. So once you do your program, I think you can do this. This is going to be quite useful. There's a ton of information which is packed at a very low price point, so that the cost of entry is very minimum.
And what is the duration of this
Duration,
course?
you'll get 1 year access, to all the material. For some reason you're not able to access this material for that year, you can send me a request. I can extend it for another 6 months or 1 more year.
Okay. And is there any live classes in this also?
What is that?
Is there any live classes also?
Yeah,
You
live
said it is
classes.
just-
Live classes will be there based on your doubts. Like you had a doubt now, right? So once you go through this, there will be exercises, there will be class, there will be a lot of recorded sessions. So you make notes based on that, and then you come back to me. Okay, what these are my doubts. Then we can clarify this, and I'll also point you to other live sessions from other students that I have. So you'll be part of a community wherein all such doubts will be cleared. So if somebody's already asked the question that you're asked, I'll say, okay, go watch this video that is already done, and that kind of stuff. If it's your question is a fresh one, then we can have a one-on-one. And if you have doubts, yeah, you will get around 2 to 4 hours live sessions with me. But apart from that, you've got more doubts, then it will be one of those. I'll say, okay, watch this guy's video, or if yours is a fresh query, I'll answer it again.
Okay, right, got it.
Fine. So I think so we can look at this once you're cleared with AutoGraph, right?
Right.
Okay, fine. And any other questions that you have typically?
No, Kiran, that's all.
Okay, so here is wishing you all the best, and we'll be in touch once you clear your exam. Hello.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Kiran.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. All the best. And ping me once you've cleared your stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.